Hi there, this is CS Professor Pam with Jumpstart Code. Hopefully you have gone through the HTML for Beginners series that I did, and we are now ready to get started with CSS. We're ready to start making our web pages look pretty. So we are working through the content in Interneting is Hard, internetinghard.com. And we are on Lesson 4. If I go back to the beginning here just to show you where we are, Interneting is Hard, and we're in HTML, CSS. And if you go through here, we are on CSS, Hello CSS. So let's get started. HTML is the language that you use to create the structure of your web page, whereas CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets, is what you do that makes your web page pretty. It's the design. It's a completely separate language. So that's one thing we're going to have to get used to here. There are curly brackets and semicolons that you didn't have to pay attention to in HTML that you have to pay attention to here. If you're going to do web development, you're going to end up working with multiple languages, and each one has its own syntax. Now, don't get stressed about that, thinking that you have to memorize it all. Nobody memorizes 100% of what you need to do. There's certainly a lot of it that becomes just natural to you, and that comes from actually typing the content in. In my videos here, I am doing copy and paste from this document here in several situations, but it is really best if you would actually type this code in to get used to that. All right, so CSS is how we define how our web page is going to look and make it look pretty, right? We can specify colors, fonts, sizing, all of that. So what we're going to do is get things set up here. So first of all, remember I told you you should always have a folder where you have all your projects, and we're going to create a new project here called Hello CSS. So I'm going to make a new folder here called hello-css. All right. Then I am going to open this folder in my editor, which is VS Code. So I'm going to start up VS Code and go to File, Open Folder, and go browse to the folder that I just created. All right. Now we're going to want to put a couple of files in here. So we want to put a couple of HTML files. We want a file called hello-css.html. So let's add that file. What I can do here is add a file. If I click here on New File, and the name of this file is going to be hello-css.html. Right? So we've now created this file, and here's the content. Again, it would be really good if you actually type this in. It would be very good practice, but just for the purposes of this video, I am actually copying all this content and pasting it into this page. All right, let's just see where we are right now. So remember, we need to save this. So we'll save all. And if I want to see this page, if I right click and open with Live Server, we'll be able to see what we have. All right, so here's my page. I'm going to kind of separate it here off to the side so I'll be able to go back and forth and show you what's going on. So what's in this page? We've got, let's look at the content and look at what we have here. So we have a header that says Hello CSS here in the beginning. We've got a paragraph. That paragraph has a link in it to another page. Right now, this link won't work because I have not created that page that's being linked right now, right? So we'll do that in just a second. We've got a smaller header, a paragraph, and an unordered list. And then we have an ordered list. All right, so let's work on this other page. We want to create another page called dummy.html. So let's go over here. I can click here to add a new file. The name is dummy.html. And let's go get the content that's going to go in this page. So that would be this. I'm going to copy that, put that content over here. Let's save all. All right, let's see if my link is now working. So I'm going to go over here. Here's my original page. If I click here on another page, then we see that new page that we just created, right? And we can either go back here or there's a link to go back to the original page. If we click that, it should take me back. Now, if any of that doesn't work, you have to stop and debug that. You may have your files in the wrong location. So this is why you need to stop and test things as you are going along, right? One of the worst things that you can do is just type a whole lot of code and then go and test it. If it's not working, you don't have any idea of where to look. All right, so our HTML files, it's important to understand about file extensions. All of our HTML files have to have the extension .html, but now we're working with a different language, and these files need to have an extension of .css. So we're going to create a separate CSS file, and we're going to call it styles.css. So let's go over here, create a new file, styles.css, right? And the way we specify CSS is we have to have a selector. We have to decide something that we want to do. So I'm going to apply some styling to the body. You're usually selecting a tag on your page. So my HTML page has a body section, right? And in there, if I can specify attributes and values for those attributes. And so color is going to be the color of the text. And there's a number of ways that you can specify these colors. So here in this document, they're using hex values, but I'm going to show you a couple of things here. So let me go over here, and we're going to put color, colon, and I'm going to start off with this hex value to show you. So FF0000, right? And that color is actually red. And I'll explain to you guys in a second how I know that that's red, but it tells me there. So again, look at the syntax here. We have a selector. These curly brackets are important. So that means all of the things inside of this curly bracket apply to the body. You could do your curly brackets this way, but the typical style of doing this is to open the bracket here and then close it. Inside we have these pairs of an attribute and a value. All right, now if I save this, save all, we go to my page, I won't see any changes because I have not connected that CSS file to my HTML, right? So we have to do that by linking it. And we do that with a link element. And this link element is going to go in the head section of your HTML file because it is information about the page, but not actual content. And look at this tag. So it's link. Then we have this attribute called rel, and we have to specify that it's a style sheet. Then remember the href property, we've seen it before with regards to using the anchor tag, but here it is used to specify the name of the file that has my CSS in it. So I copy this line and I'm going to go to my Hello CSS in the head section, anywhere in this head section, but I typically put it here at the end. We will put this in here. Let's save all. Let me pull my file over here so we can kind of see both at the same time. And here is my file. Save all. And look at what happened over here. I am now seeing red text on this page. So let's again kind of recap how this connection happened. In my HTML file, I am linking it to this style sheet called styles.css. In styles.css, I am saying anything in the body of this document, what I want you to use for the text color is this color red. Now again, it's really important to do one thing like this and test your connection, because typos are just really easy to do, right? Suppose I put too many S's on my file name here. Then my CSS is not working. Now I might go here to this file and I'm frustrated and struggling here, thinking everything looks fine here, and it is. But the problem is that the file name is wrong. So you have to really pay a lot of attention to detail and kind of check things step by step, right? Now, in terms of specifying a color, you can actually specify, there are a number of just color names. If I put yellow here, actually, since this is text, let's do something, let's do blue, right? If I save this, you see my text is now blue. So one way to specify colors is with color names, and there's quite a few of them that you can use. There's even things like, you can see here, like light blue or light green or whatever, right? You see here, light cyan. So that's one way to specify colors. And what happened to my page here? So look, I made a little typo here. This is interesting. And I made a mistake and got rid of my closing curly bracket there. And it had a very interesting effect on my page. Let's try, make sure I can fix this. So I'm going back. I've got to double check things. Styles.css. Here's styles.css. I've got that. I'm going to go back to just blue. Save all, and everything seems fine. Okay, so we can use a color. We can use, when I was using the # or hashtag, that is a hex value. So colors are specified in what's called RGB values, or red, green, blue values, right? That's how all colors are specified, red, green, blue. And if you have, the first color when I had red, it was FF0000. This is broken into, these first two letters are specifying how much red, the second two are specifying how much green, the second two are specifying how much blue. These are hex values. F in hex means all the digits are ones, right? So it's the biggest number that you can have. So this says I have all red, no green, no blue. That's why we end up with red. I'll show you if I change this, for example, to, let's do no red, let's do green, no blue, right? You see that's going to be a shade of green, okay? The other way that you can specify colors is you can specify RGB values, red, green, blue values. And we do, for example, if I do 50, 50, 50 maybe, or actually let's do it this way. Red, let's put red and blue make purple, right? Let's make no green, and let's do some red and some, so these numbers are going to be from 0 to 255, right? And if all that doesn't make complete sense right now, don't worry. Over time, you will understand more about it. But this is saying I want, on a scale of 0 to 255, I want sort of 100 parts of red, no parts green, and 100 parts blue. And that gives me basically a purple color, right? So there are a number of ways to specify colors here. In this document, they tend to use the RGB. I'm sorry, the hex values. And so we're going to do that, okay? So we now have this, our page connected. So we're going to actually change this to sort of a dark gray. So this is how we can do this. And I will show you on another lesson how you can actually go find the hex values for a particular color that you want. But if I change this to that number, oops, we need a semicolon, okay, save all, and here is my page. So we see now we have sort of a gray tone. There's basically a certain amount, kind of the same amount of both red, green, blue, and you end up with kind of a gray tone. Also, notice if I want to have comments in my CSS file, the syntax for comments is different. The syntax for comments here starts with a /* and ends with a */. If you remember, over in HTML, the syntax for a comment starts with, sometimes people call the exclamation point the bang character, angle bracket bang, coded by CS Professor Pam. Right? This is how I specify a comment in my HTML, but in my CSS, a comment starts with a /* and ends with a */. All right? All right, so just a couple more things before we pause for the next lesson. We can also set the background color of the page. So color itself is going to be the color of the font, but background color is going to be the color of the background. So let's do that. And notice a lot of these properties are sort of two words like this, and you always use a dash between them. And CSS is not case sensitive, but people typically do put these colors in all uppercase, but I'm just going to show you that it will work in lowercase because it is not case sensitive. All right, so you see we've got kind of a lighter gray for the background, and we have a darker gray for the color of the text, right? And picking these colors is really important, having good contrast. If you have, a light background color, then you need a darker text color. If you have a dark background color, then you will need a lighter text color, right? And these are things you have to be concerned with in designing your page. All right, so that's a good start for this video. Again, just a quick little review. we have created a page. We've connected that page to a CSS file, which is here. And for right now, the only styling that we have applied is just to put, to specify the text color and the background color. And notice my additional page is not using that right now. So in the next lesson, we'll talk about how we can link the same CSS file to multiple pages.